Hello, everyone. Not good enough. I know some of you saw me earlier today. We are here to see an amazing film and honor an amazing person, so I need more energy from all of you. Hello, everyone. My name is Farida Badamosi, and I am the U.S. Indies programmer, and more importantly, I am the Mind the Gap manager, and I'm so excited for this amazing screening. I first want to thank our sponsors for this screening. I want to thank the Nancy P. and Richard K. Robbins Family Foundation and Wareham Development. I also want to give a special thanks to our Mind the Gap sponsor, Christine Shantz. In addition to our sponsors, I want to thank our members and our donors. I also want to thank everyone who's in this room. The last 2 years have been, a lot of change, and you've stuck with us through this entire time, so a round of applause for yourselves for being here today. I'm going to now pass it over to our amazing Director of Programming, Zoë Elton.
Farida, thank you. Wow. So this is an evening that has been a long time in the making. Mark Fishkin was just mentioning outside that long ago when Jane Campion was making shorts, he tried to get them for Mill Valley Film Festival. In 2003, again, we tried to get her here for tribute, and she wrote me this fax, which some of you will be able to see, that she drew around her hand on the 260803 and said, well, dear Zoë Elton, well, it didn't happen again, and even while they say flattery will get you everywhere, it will on this occasion get you a handwritten sorry and thank you. And the thank you, of course, is really all for Jane Campion, and that's really what I want to say. A big thank you. Thank you for honoring your talent. That force, that spirit, that creativeness that runs through you and manifests in great cinema. Thank you for that. Thank you for opening the door for so many people. And thank you for walking through that door yourself. Thank you for inspiring so many people by being who you are and doing what you do with wisdom and heart and with spirit and inevitability. Thank you for seeing people who might otherwise not be seen, and thank you for telling their stories. Thank you for creating images that tell us everything we need to know. Thank you for making art that is life and life that is art. Thank you for not compromising. Thank you for your fearlessness, but mostly, thank you for inspiring us. Jane Campion, welcome. And this is the Mind the Gap Award.
Oh, thank you, Britta. Thank you, Britta. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you, Jane.
Here's what I'm going to get. Some jewelry.
Yay.
A necklace, actually.
It's very symbolic, of course.
Yeah. Right.
So
yeah.
We've had this tradition that Maggie Gyllenhaal started a couple of years ago, where we were walking up.
Short tradition.
Yeah, you're right. where she read something in response to the award, and I think you might be able to do that for us too.
Yes, I was given the note that would be needed. So I was rustling around in Montreal for a bookshop that had things in English as well. And I found something which is really cool. But I'm going to make a little speech in praise of women's wilds to start with. My literary women heroines, and just let me say first of all, thank you all for coming. It's so brilliant to be able to share this film, The Power of the Dog, with the live audience. It's just makes my heart sing. Thank you. My literary women heroines are disobedient. They held dangerous views, they outraged their own families, yet these recluses were powerful and inventive beyond measure. They shunned society in favour of creativity born of a free soul. Emily Bronte, we have to imagine, knew absolutely nothing of men except maybe Bramwell, who was a bit of a drunk, and almost certainly was a virgin. But she imagined and wrote the sexiest lover of all time, the hurt, rugged, passionate gypsy Heathcliff. Emily Dickinson, another recluse living richly from reading and her unfeathered imagination. Jane Austen, a spinster who never lived the stories of complexity in her fiction that led one lover to another. Janet Frame thought mad, but was a young woman grieving the impossible loss of two sisters, with a sensitivity too heightened to teach in schools, who, when I met her, was not mad, but clearly free. Also, Elena Ferrante, guess you know her, of whom it is said, imagine Jane Austen free to rage. These are women living full, wild women lives on the fringes of society. For as Clarissa Pinkola Este, the great Jungian analyst and author of Women Who Run with Wolves, says, there are two types of girls that are acceptable to society. I guess that's the patriarchal society. Number one is the sweet mother who always takes care and shows concern for everything and everybody. Number two is a know-nothing maiden who is always sweet, cute, and innocent. This, Estes says, leaves out all the instinctive animal nature of women so important to the sensuous life and also to the creative life. For girl children, it has been the custom to domesticate her away from her wild nature, so she will be submissive, so she will not get pregnant, will not bring shame on the family with her lust. But the aspect of the wild can be channeled not only as sexual lust, but also into creativity, to the river that flows like water, that flows always, that can be used for many, many things, especially creativity. This is the river available to all of us all of the time. It is the purview of the wild woman archetype of women who run with wolves. I stumbled upon this river, this flow of the psyche when I was 24. It saved my life and made my life. There is nothing it cannot do, including have Charles Bronson propose to me. I won't tell that story, but I will read a poem from a young American poet, Amanda Lovelace, I discovered only yesterday, who has found her own beautiful, aching voice through another good source, pain. This is a poem about recovering from a bad lover. It's from a book called To Make Monsters Out of Girls. Okay. In the autumn, the monster ripped his way through my bosom, twisted my heart until it became a deadened thing and buried it somewhere in the leaf-littered wood. He left no marker, no signs leading back to it. When I asked him why he did this, he told me that he wasn't finished with it for now and he didn't want anyone else to find it in the meantime. That's called the ending. In the spring, the thawing began. With a hand clutched to my chest, I stumbled down that overgrown path, dug through the softened dirt, and took that beatless thing back into my hands. I leaned in and whispered to it, please don't give up, not yet. There's still someone someone you should be beating for, me. Somewhere in that darkness, the faintest sparkle of light bloomed, the beginning. It's just so exciting when you read new voices like this one. And I just got one very tiny one here, which is kind of fun. It's from the section called The Queen. Once upon a time, the princess rose from the ashes. Her dragon lovers made of her and crowned herself the motherfucking queen of herself. How's that for a happily ever after?
That was fucking great.
Thank you.
Jane, thank you, thank you. And now we get to see the film.
Yes.
So, yeah. Maybe no words necessary, but here comes the power of the dog.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll leave it to the dog. And yeah, I'm really so delighted to be sharing this film with you. It's a film that went into my wilds anyway, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Okay, lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, indeed. It's so amazing seeing this film. As it began, when I first saw it, which is some time ago, I just felt in good hands, actually. And it also really felt to me like, like vintage Jane Campion in a way. That there are a lot of things that you've been working with throughout your career, often deeply, deeply embedded in character, eroticism, power, human beings, and gorgeous cinematography and beautifully composed work. And it just felt just so like a consummate Jane Campion film. And it was just, just like from the first moment of seeing it. But I think one of the most astonishing things is Benedict Cumberbatch. It's such a beautiful performance. And I would love you just to talk a little bit about working with him, because I think you got kind of a little truncated by the pandemic in making the film, right?
Yeah.
So how do you establish character with someone and then, everything is pulled away and then reestablish it?
I think well, thank you for those kind words, Zoë.
Thank you for the great film. Come on.
Look, when you've got a beautiful book like Thomas Savage's book was, it's really the most fantastic experience to have a book that you can really lean into and feel has got substance in the way that I think the story has, and because he lived that experience. He really did grow up on that ranch in Montana, and he really did have an abusive uncle. I didn't know if he was exactly Phil Burbank, but it was the inspiration anyway. So I think with a character as interesting and complex as he is, and I have to say I've learned really in a way, despite the cruelty that he creates, I have learned to love him. That you really need an amazing actor.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody's going to just turn up and be Phil Burbank. Right. It's not going to happen. or they're probably so toxic you can't, better finish the movie or whatever. So, yeah, it was like a matter of sort of choosing the right person, and there was a few people that were putting their hand up in the end, and it was a bit like hard to guess who it might be, but Benedict, through his agent, put his hand up and said, I'd love to talk to you, I'll play this part. And he was on my list, or our list, because I've loved Benedict's work for a long time now. Going back to Parade's End, I remember seeing him and just thinking, oh, this is good, really good. And I think his Sherlock Holmes, I think he's charismatic. He can really be charismatic, and this character needed to be charismatic. And even though he's like super English, I think in the 1925 era, there was a lot more properness. I mean, especially in, the story has some parents coming over from the East Coast and deciding to try ranching. And then, of course, he really learned how to ranch and his brother learned how to ranch, not from his parents, who really barely rode a horse, but through Bronco Henry, who's the ghost that really haunts the whole story. Look, it was, then, when Benedict said he'd like to do it, and I said, well, how are we going to get there, There's a big gap between where Benedict is. I remember writing it down. The gap, mind the gap, between where Benedict is now and where we have to go with him, and all the all the things he needs to do to be the amazing Phil Burbank, because he has to learn to play the banjo, he has to whistle, he has to ride a horse well, he has to be able to braid rope, he has to castrate steers, and he's got to be willing to step up to do that stuff. It's got to feel, like he knows what he's doing. And, Benedict was up for it, and, but, when people say they're up for it, you think like, okay, I'll say, you should do a month in Montana, and that will be maybe a week, And I think maybe it was a bit longer, but he actually stayed in the house of this guy called Randy, and, of course, and learnt a lot of the skills from him, and, was there with his wife, and it was... they became mates. And I also sort of felt that one of the things was that because of, in a way, the depth of the work, that it would be really good to do some dream work or other sort of psyche work. And I found this woman through a friend called Kim Gillingham, who studied with Marion Woodman, who's a Jungian, and a brilliant one from Canada, and also studied with Sandra Seacat, who's, I don't know if you've heard of her, but she's a really amazing actors coach who worked with people like Mickey Rourke. In fact, I think she went out with him for a while. In the old days. Anyway, I tried her first because I thought that would be good.
So
and
you did some dream work with her?
Yeah, I did, and it really is the first time I felt super helped by somebody. Like for me too, it was a really great way to engage with this particular piece.
Did it help you in a visual way, or in a more, I don't know, I want to say empathetic way, but I mean...
I think it's, one of the big challenges when you begin with a script is to, how to work out how to embody the world, everything in the script has to have a factual reality, finally, that you can film. And that's a real challenge, you've got to know it all.
Right.
You've got to be there, and you have to have things that stand in for everything, and everything has to be something you can lean on and believe in, so that people like yourselves watching it can feel like, this is a world that I'm going to trust, And then I think they have the chance to get the real experience of the work, because you can feel it in yourself that you think, oh, these people, as you say, know what they're doing, so I'm going to relax into this and believe, what they're on about, really. So, where was I?
The third dream from the left.
Huh? Yeah. I can't remember what I was saying that for, but yeah. What were you asking?
Well, you were mentioning the dream work that you did. Yeah. So you tried it first, but then you got Benedict to do some dream work too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even really dream, so that was like, I'm not going to dream, it's not going to work for me,
Are you sure you don't dream?
I do dream, but not regularly, not like every night or whatever. I've had some major dreams, like visitations, but she sort of read this thing to me and said, well, now you're going to dream, okay? And sure enough,
wow.
I had a paper and pen and, it was like, jotted a bit down and off to sleep again. And, they were fragments, I really think, the first lot of dreams I had. But nevertheless, it displayed what I would say was a lot of fear dreams. Like fear about taking on a project this size and, like hundreds of cattle running all over the place. Like, oh my God.
But it wasn't like that apocryphal story of Keith Richard who would tape himself while he was dreaming and then discovered that he had written the riff for I Can't Get No Satisfaction in the Middle of the Night. Do you know?
My God, that would be beautiful. I do feel... I do feel that something really... did he really do that?
He did do that. He really did.
So we've got to lean into the dreams. Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't know that. Thank you, Zoë.
Yeah. Anytime.
Yeah. No, I did feel that things were revealed, different things were revealed that I wouldn't have known about. And I feel like Kirsten often talks about it, Kirsten Dunst also works, and actually quite a lot of actors work with coaches that work in a similar way. Yeah. And she says, look, it just means that you have, the work helps you embody the experience and it makes you confident. Makes you confident. I should share a little bit more about it. So you have the dream, and then she reads the script, and she facilitates a kind of discussion between you and the character, and you might want to play. Like she might say, okay, if you were Phil, what would you have to tell Jane about what she needs to know, Something like that. And like, ooh. Phil had a lot to tell me. About how I could improve my attitude and do better. But I could, it's so interesting to be facilitated in that way. I found it was, a bit scary maybe, but immensely helpful. So
it informed both the writing and the working with actors.
I didn't actually use it for the writing. I used it really for the directing, which is, I actually feel pretty confident about writing, but with directing, there's like so many ways you can do things, and you feel that preparation where you're just standing on the edge of a cliff and you're going like, oh my God, which foot do I put where? How do I begin this process? It's so ginormous, and of course you divide it up into little pieces and you start, piece after piece.
Talking about the way that you work with actors, I talked with Kerry Fox this morning.
Oh.
She says hi. She's in Croatia, and she's going to see the film on Monday in London.
She is, yes. Yeah.
But she worked with you as a young actress in Angel at My Table, which we saw a lovely clip from. And then later on,
that wasn't Kerry though, right? That was
what?
Little Kerry.
That wasn't Kerry. No, that was not Kerry. Kerry was the big Janet.
Yeah.
But also in Bright Star. But she said to me, that scene in the piano where there's that little hole in the stocking. She said that's kind of I felt how Jane worked with me as an actor. She would get to that little spot and then tease out the performance. She said, I don't know, it was a very profound experience for her. And does that make sense to you? Or?
What I would say is I'm like a dog with a bone.
Yeah, okay.
I do not let go, Yeah. And I think that's really frustrating and thrilling for actors, like the scary and frustrating and, all those different things. Because if I feel there's a way that, something needs to be explored and it's not happening and we could do better, or I can feel that they've a capacity that's not presenting itself yet, I will keep at them.
Yeah.
Because I love them and I want to see them do as well as they can. But I would honestly say that the times, when they do their brilliant work, I have had nothing to do with it. I feel like I'm just there supporting the moments when they, fall a little bit. But when they start to fly, I'm just move out of the way, and that's that's the time I love the most, because I'm the one there watching them, do their beautiful work. And that's my thrill. That's my absolute thrill. Like, oh, I am witnessing this. It's happening. That's just amazing. But I am super persistent. It's just my nature. Sorry. Like, if something can be improved, I want to see that happen.
Yeah.
If I can imagine how it can be improved, I know the Netflix people also have to deal with it. Like, the trailer, could it be better? Not really now. I think we've got a really good one, haven't we? And, the same about everything. Like, if I can see how it can be done better.
Yeah.
And it's about art, it's about the work, I will, go there.
Right.
But there's also, I do think I have the capacity, I've learnt the capacity to let go too and to trust. Like, it's an equal measure of, persistence and then just trusting the process, really, because everything begins in a way that looks really bad. And, you have to know that that's not where it's going to end, and that's quite difficult. Members of the cast, when they see each other, not doing very well in the rehearsal, they can freak out, And you just have
you do rehearse?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
I always do at least 3 weeks, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's great.
I always do about 3 weeks because that's what I started doing in this business. That's all you're allowed. Like, whatever you start doing, you keep
doing it.
You keep doing, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I said 4 weeks, they go, no.
Well, your parents...
Or 2, you're not trying,
Your parents worked in theatre somewhat, right? So
they did. They loved theatre. They were like, Shakespeare was their god.
Yeah.
Which, it's not bad. Yeah, no, they're born on the same day, and they, I guess after the war they went to the old Vic together from New Zealand to study what was like RADA now, and
right.
Dad was studying directing, and Mum was, she's actually in that clip playing the teacher that grabs the sword. Yeah, she's cool, right? Yeah. She was a great actor. She had that focus, And I always used to think, how do people know if people are good?
And do you know now?
I do think I know. Yeah. I mean, it's complicated, but it's about access. It's about focus. And that's an interesting thing about Benedict, is that he has both the attack focus, like the attack dog focus, but he also has that capacity to just open,
right,
and to be super vulnerable and let the emotion come through. So he lets you connect with. I mean, a character like Phil could be so abrasive that you just want to get out of here. So I think those, or every actor has slightly different qualities, but his ones I think are really top drawer, beautiful capacities. And so it's all about relaxation and focus. It's like meditation, I guess. You guys all meditate, I guess. Coming from where you do. Me too. But it is that relaxation where you just let everything come through you, because you don't even know what amazing things could turn up. Mm-hmm. And then it's, like the focus on what you need, what you want, what could be better, or that, and then you relax, and then it turns up. It's like those fairy tales when you go to sleep and you've left all this stuff on. You had to make all these dresses or whatever out of gold threads. you think, oh, I can't, I've got to sleep. And then the little gremlins and the people
They come in the night, yeah.
make it in the night, and you wake up and it's done. But it's the beauty of the
But it
the
sounds
way
like
the creative mind works.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by that. And another friend of mine, Tim Bird, was your first AD on In the Cut.
Yes, he was great.
Which was, another really wonderful subversive film. But he described on set, so the first AD, his job is to, organize this, the set for you, essentially.
He's my set husband.
Yes.
Like,
and
hurry up.
and he said, as you began, and of course you're shooting in New York, which has got all that baggage around it, so it's very specific. You're on the streets, permits, all that kind of thing. But he said that you would arrive at the set and you would completely change the whole setup. So, and he would say, okay, and so they would completely change the setup, but you did it. So he said, well, how can I function like this? I need to know this stuff in advance so I can get it set and blah, 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 blah. But you said to him that you were doing it intentionally because, you don't remember this, do you?
Well, I do remember changing a few things.
Well,
I mean, if it doesn't work, you've got to change it.
Well, he said that he felt that what you were doing was taking away those expectations and making people work a little bit harder creatively so that they could be in the moment, essentially. And he said that it was an incredible privilege to be working in that way. He said, because, quite often, so much of the film is actually, just set before you get to the set, but that you made the set very vibrant and living.
Well, it's true that I feel like you've got to be able to feel it, like when the actors are there and they've got to find it, you've got to feel it. And if you can't feel it, it's not happening,
Right.
Whatever you shoot is a waste of time, so you've got to mix it up. But I would say that I do a lot of preparation. Tim. And that's why I'm ready to move this way or that,
Right.
No, it is true that the preparation makes you free because you feel confident that you've tried a lot of different ideas imaginatively already, or drawn a lot of thoughts about it. And so when you get there, you know what you need from the scene. And
Right.
Very often you think you've changed all around, and you look at your drawings, you go, oh my God, that's exactly like that. But it is about finding it, and you can't just find it by, I don't think, copying a storyboard,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be a departure point, but if it's not, the director's job is to see what's there and to feel if it's there.
Right.
In the body, not in the mind. Because the mind will tell you anything. Oh, that's really great, Jane, It's just like the picture, it's going to be amazing. But I really do think the body is the thing that doesn't lie. And if you feel in your body, and I can feel the terror in my body when I'm trying to pretend it is working.
Right.
Like I'm going like, Arr! And if you don't call it and say, I'm sorry, everyone, this is not happening, we have to try something else. Yeah. Can you have a tea break, please?
Right.
A tea break.
Well, I know.
No, but it is true, yeah. That isn't really terrifying to me anymore, but it can be. I mean, the first few times that I was on set and I knew it wasn't working, and this feeling of terror is horrible when you don't know whether to speak the truth or to or fake it. But there's no point in faking it because you're going to film some...
Right.
You're going to tell your story that way. Yeah.
So I know that we're on a tight schedule. So one quick last question. Is it true that you went to see Nicole Kidman when she was like 14 and you cast her in A Girl's Own Story, but she said no, she didn't want to do it because you asked her to wear a shower cap and kiss a girl?
Not a shower cap, actually. It wasn't a shower cap, it was a stocking on her head, because that's how my sister and I used to keep our hair straight. But I think that's not how she wanted to begin her career. I don't know when she told that. I remember she told that story, but for a long time we pretended that never happened. But I did meet her when she was 14.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see her on Sunday for dinner, actually. So we've become friends just from knowing each other for so very long and loving each other. And I mean, I really admire her, even though she didn't want to wear the stocking. And then since then she said, "Oh, I'll do any weird thing for you now," whatever.
You should take her up on that.
Well, I did get her into a nice weird grey wig.
Right.
For Top of the Lake too.
Yeah, Top of the Lake was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And everybody says, "Oh, it was a long time you've away from film. You haven't done anything for 12 years." And I'm like, about 12 hours of a series.
Right. Yeah. I love that you've taken your creativity into so many directions, and that you've been, that you've embraced the Top of the Lake as well as shorts and, adaptations, things that you've written originally. We could go on all night, but we won't. But thank you so much for being here, and all power to you with the power of the dog.
Thank you. Woof, woof. Yeah, thank you.
Jane Campion,
Thank you very much.
So much.